Today's top whispers: is Rodriguez set to swap the Bernabeu for the Bridge? Looking after number one, Hart and Schmeichel, both linked with Liverpool and both rated at over 3. And mad about Morgan, is Schneiderlin a target for the Blues? Welcome to the first edition of Football Whispers, a brand new show with a brand new approach to predicting the transfer market. We apply technology to gossip and come up with the best info anywhere on who's going where and why. Joining us this week, two former England internationals, Liverpool and Spurs striker Paul Walsh and Palace midfielder and former first-team coach John Salako. First up, here's a quick look at what Football Whispers is all about. So that's how it works. Now let's get working. Chelsea and United are never far from big money transfer gossip. And it seems they're both up against Juventus in the race to sign James Rodriguez, Real Madrid's attacking midfielder, who Zinedine Zidane says no longer features in his plans. Rodriguez has posted an Instagram shot of him posing in a private jet, which might indicate he's off on holiday or might just mean he's on his way to somewhere more permanent. Well, Paul, Rodriguez currently rates at 3.6. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think he's got to get out of Real Madrid. It's not really gone that well for him. He's an expensive player. When you look at a transfer fee that he may cost, his wages on top of it, there's only the clubs that you're mentioning really that can afford him. So, yeah, I think he will be out in this window. I think he needs to get his career going again, and any of those clubs mentioned would be a good fit for him.
We can look at the Chelsea formation, which, to be fair, hasn't done too badly of late.
No, but you can never, when a good player is available, I think you've always got to look at that. And, you can't have too many good players, but it always comes at a cost. And you need competition for places.
I think especially with Conte and Costa being out suspended, it will make him think he needs to add and strengthen this squad.
Yeah. Well, the man in danger, at least as far as we're concerned, is Willian.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, all three of them across the top there could be in danger because, you need, like I said, you need competition for places. You never really know what a manager's thinking. We've all thought Willian's been brilliant for Chelsea for most of the time that he's been there, but different manager comes in, slightly different view, thinks that maybe Rodriguez can give them something slightly different and better, and maybe that's what he's thinking.
What was he, 71 million when he went to...
He was a lot of money, yeah, Brazil. But he was top man for Colombia, scored some great goals, he looked individual. I think he'd be a perfect fit for Chelsea because he could come in. Oscar's obviously going off to China, but you've got Willian, Pedro, and I think he can rotate that group. Costa's got to stay fit. I mean, with Chelsea, that team just picks itself. When Costa's fit, it's fine, but Rodriguez can play up front, can play in the hole, can play wide, and I think he's the type of a utility player that will fit perfectly into that Chelsea squad.
We can compare the three of them then, Pedro as well. In this graphic, it's difficult to tell much between them, considering that one of them's apparently worth 71 million.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, listen, I think those stats may be a little unfair, considering he hasn't played as much as he could have done. But they're looking at potential and what he can do, and with an arm round him, with a starting place in a team, what he could do for a team. That's what managers get paid for judging those situations, buying those players, making those decisions. And, those stats don't look great for him, but, he could come in and massively improve very quickly.
Well, with Roman's money available, they can probably get whoever they want. But does it help, or can it possibly detract from a team if they're getting too many in?
I think what they don't want to do is get anyone that's too big a name. I think Rodriguez, where he is hopefully got something to prove. He'll come in there, he'll be motivated, he'll come in. If he doesn't get into the team straight away, it won't be a massive problem. It's not going to disrupt what they've got. I think it's going to add to what they've got. All it is, the question is his heart. Does he want to come and play football? Does he want to make a name for himself? And is he going to go and work hard enough to get in that Chelsea side?
It'd be a massive problem to me if I transferred from Real Madrid to Chelsea and I didn't get in the starting lineup pretty quickly. But, you know, that's what he's got. I know what John's saying, but you've got to go and force your way into the lineup. And you'd like to think if someone's paying a lot of money for you, you're going to get a start and then hopefully retain your place. But you know that there's tough competition.
I don't like to see that when players put pictures of them in a private plane there. It doesn't show a great attitude. I think he wants to come to London. He obviously wants to go somewhere. But really, we talked about this, but it's got to be about the player's desire to want to play and want to be a top player. And you see that in your Messis, your Ronaldos, your Suarez, your Tevez. And a lot of these foreign South American players, they're either great or they can be a little bit party boys. So if he's coming to London to work, then great, come. If he's not, stay in Madrid.
Remember, we want to hear your take on the transfer market and everything we're talking about on the show. Get in touch via Facebook or Twitter. We want you to get in touch so we can answer the questions you want asked. These are the details. Now, Liverpool are up to second in the league, but is it fair to say they might be a place higher, if not for a few issues with the man in the number 1 jersey? Jurgen Klopp has been linked with 2 big names, Kasper Schmeichel, who we rate at 3.2 to move from champions Leicester, and Joe Hart, who's currently a 3.1 to return to England from Torino. As you can see, some of the headlines on the current incumbents have been pretty vicious. Do you think Liverpool need to? Do you think they will?
Yeah, I think if Liverpool are going to be a championship winning team, they need a top goalkeeper. And I just think Mignolet's short and Karius is even a bit shorter than he is. All right, years and experience as well. And if Liverpool are going to be a top side, they need a top keeper. And both of these boys that you're mentioning, both top keepers. Schmeichel's been brilliant, but we haven't seen him playing in a top team, whereas Joe Hart has. And you know, I would, if me personally, would fancy Joe Hart. I think his availability as well may make him favourite. The only downside to that would be, you know, Man City might not want to sell to Liverpool. That could be a problem.
I like Hart. I think they should have bought Hart at the start of the season. I think they should have gone, pushed the boat out. The 2 keepers, Karius is a young keeper, he's up and coming. Schmeichel, I really like him. He's got a great attitude. He's got so much about him, but will Leicester let him go? You know, if they're looking for a young, up-and-coming keeper, then Schmeichel is your man. Go and table a massive bid. It could tempt Leicester to sell, especially if they drop out of Champions League. But all the time they're in Champions League. But Ranieri's going to need Schmeichel. He's a massive part of that team. So it's difficult to know what to do, but either of those keepers would definitely add to Liverpool's title challenge.
If we put them head to head or glove to glove, there doesn't seem to be too much difference between them. But as you say, it's the quality of opposition they're facing.
Well, possibly, yeah. But I mean, I just think that at the moment, Hearts, you know, performed on the top table of football, you know, Champions League, what have you. And I know Schmeichel is starting to do that. And I don't know how much that really counts for, but experience as a goalkeeper still counts for a lot in my book. And I would fancy him. Is my personal choice. Don't get me wrong, if Schmeichel got the nod in front of that, I still wouldn't be disappointed.
I would go for Hart. I think he's got the experience, he's got something to prove. He's gone to Torino, he's eaten humble pie. I think he got a little bit arrogant, a little bit above himself, makes mistakes. But I think what he's learned, I think going to Torino would have taught Hart so much. And I think whether they get him in January or they would get him in the summer, I think it'd be a tremendous buy because he is such a talent and he's still the England number 1.
And he hasn't got dandruff.
No, not anymore. Have they dropped him yet?
He's not head and shoulders above Schmeichel, though.
Anyway, it hasn't taken Sam Allardyce long to get back into football as the new manager of John's club, Crystal Palace. They became his 6th Premier League side, which makes him more than qualified to give a view on the ups and downs of the January window.
You can't be a manager and satisfied when there's a transfer window coming up, can you? You've got to try and get something in and make the squad bigger, because it all depends what all the others do, and it all depends, you know, in terms of what's available, what you can afford, who wants to come. But you've got to try throughout January, as difficult as it is, and you've got to hope nobody comes for any of your players, because that's even more. That can be even more concerning when rumours go around that one of your players maybe, you know, being wanted by another club or a bigger club, and having to deal with January is not very easy, but something that we've lived with for many years now.
Well, whatever you think about the England disaster, whether it was right or wrong to get rid of him, he's come back pretty quickly. Are you happy he's at your club?
Absolutely delighted to have Big Sam. I think in a relegation battle, I think only Tony Pulis I would prefer to have. And we've had him and he left. But look, Sam's motivated, he's enthusiastic, he loves football. Only behind Harry Redknapp has managed more games in the Premier League. So Sam knows the game, he's pragmatic. You know what you're going to get out of Big Sam. Love him as a guy, knows his football, knows how he wants to play. He's not going to play the prettiest football, but certainly if you wanted someone in charge who's going to keep you in the Premier League, and that's where really Palace's ambitions have to lie, is staying in the Premier League is gold for Palace, and I'm delighted Sam's there. He's going to try and weave his magic in the transfer window. I think need probably a left back since Papa Suarez's car accident. He's not going to play this season. Maybe a centre half and probably a centre forward to come in. Connor Wickham has done his cruciate, so it's just Benteke really. So they're a little bit light in those positions, but look, if anyone can wheel and deal, it's Big Sam.
Oh yeah, you can wheel and deal all right. In the last few weeks, Jose Mourinho seems to have settled into some kind of rhythm at Old Trafford. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is one transfer that's worked out pretty well. He's scored 12 in 17 league appearances so far this season. Mourinho says he hasn't signed to stay yet, but he will be.
Not yet, but he's activated in his brain, and is activated also in my decisions, and is activated also in the owners and the boards. So, no problem.
So Jose's got Ibra's future sussed, but is he less keen on hanging on to Morgan Schneiderlin? Everton are certainly interested in the French defensive midfielder, and we rate the prospects of a move to Goodison at 3.4. Paul, do you think he's on his way?
Definitely. I think this could even be higher than that, but in my book, because he's got to get out of Old Trafford. He's not rated by the manager. Needs a fresh start, and I think Everton would be the perfect club for him. He's got a manager that he worked with at one point, and I think it'd be a sound move, and I think it would improve Everton.
If we do the comparison, is it fair to say it's difficult to make a comparison because he never really got a chance at Old Trafford?
No, he hasn't really played. It's a shame, really, because he was a fantastic player at Southampton, and he's come through, and I think he would fit into that Everton side fantastically well. Gareth Barry's getting long in the tooth. He's played a lot of games there, and he's just the right age. So you need just that new, fresh blood in the squad and just bring him through. So, Schneiderlin, I think that would be a wonderful opportunity for him to go and kickstart his season again, because I think he definitely needs to get out of Old Trafford.
Is it as simple as that? If the manager doesn't fancy you, does it have not much to do with your talent, your skill, the opportunities you've had? If he doesn't rate you, you've got no chance.
I mean, I've been on both sides of the fence. I mean, when you've got a manager that you know is not going to play you, there's no point in sitting there. It's then about, what's your next best option? Who's in for you? Does it work out sort of money-wise? Is the club the right fit? All of those things, geography sometimes, all of those things play a part. But ultimately, if you're happy on the pitch, everyone around you will be happy.
So you would say, John, that he's actively looking forward to a move, and Everton would be a good home for him?
Yeah, he's been a fantastic pro. Let me just say that. He sits there, he's seen Pogba come in, Herrera, he's seen Carrick. They're massively... they've got lots of massive talents there at Old Trafford. So I think if there's one area which Jose Mourinho's sport is in that central midfield area, so we can let him go. I think we can't really reflect too much in those stats because he just hasn't had enough time out there. We know he's a quality player. He wants to be one of the big fishes in a smaller pond, and that's what he'll get at Everton. Not as big a club, but a club that will be challenging right up there, the right end of the Premier League.
Well, we're putting him up against McCarthy and Barry. I mean, if you were either of those players, maybe you're watching this, how unsettling is it to hear about somebody who might be coming in to replace you?
Yeah, it's never a nice feeling because you know that the manager's looking to improve the team, and you could be on the wrong end of that. So hopefully he'll be open at that upstairs game, and they try to play at the top end of their ability. But if the manager's got it in his head that this player's going to improve his team, and he goes and buys him, you know that you got half a chance. I say half a chance because there's only the two players there that he's really going to replace in terms of the position in the team.
All right, transfer speculation has hit fever pitch with the window just hours away, and it seems every half-decent Premier League player can now count on a multi-million-pound offer from the Chinese Super League. They're even rumoured to be after referee Mark Clattenburg. No doubt there'll be a few players wishing him bon voyage. But what's the manager's take on the threat from the East? We asked Arsene Wenger for his view.
Alexis Sanchez apparently has an offer for £400,000 a week to go to China. When you hear that kind of thing, do you believe it?
I believe it, yes, why not? But why should you go to China today when you play in England?
Well, I can think of 400,000 reasons why, if I was Sanchez, I'd be going. But is it as simple as that? If you want to play proper football, you stay where you are?
Paul and I disagree on this. I think if you're Sanchez and you've got that quality, you're in the Arsenal starting lineup, you know, you're in the form of your life, you've got to play at the highest league you can. And the Premier League is arguably the best in the world. So you've got to play at the best level as long as you can. But as me and Walsh disagree, I think if you're Oscar, you're not in the Chelsea side, you're not getting massive offers from anywhere else, and they come in with triple, maybe quadruple the wages you're on at the moment, and you can earn in 1 year what it would take you to earn in 4 or 5 years here with the PAYE and the tax system, tax-free, I'm going. I can see why he would go. But I don't think they're going to attract or get the top players. I think those players are still going to play in the best leagues in Europe because of the Champions League and because of the Premier League and the profile. But once you start waning or you start doubting yourself, you're going to go for the money.
Yeah, but I just think that if you can't get in a top team in Europe, then maybe you'd consider it. But my first look would have to be, you know, can I get a top side in this country? You know, would Arsenal, for instance, be interested in taking me, or Manchester United? And if those teams aren't, which they look like they aren't, and there's nowhere else in Europe that's a top table of football, a Juventus, you know, or a Milan maybe, or one of those teams, you know, then maybe you'd be looking at it. But it would certainly be after all of those options aren't there.
For me, an Oscar isn't a loss. We've got massive influx of all the top foreign talent wants to come and play in England, wants to come and play in the Premier League.
No, but we're talking about why they would
would go. For me, if Oscar went, I can understand why he goes. If Sanchez goes, doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense. But if China are offering Sanchez 600, like what Tevez has just got, 615 grand a week, probably after tax, and Arsenal are offering him 150, I can see where there'd be a temptation to go. I honestly can.
Paul, John, thank you very much. Remember, Football Whispers is the only place to get those transfer rumours backed up. Thanks to our algorithm, we can apply an index to every move that's mentioned anywhere. Here's James Lorenzo, no relation, with a roundup of the rest of today's top Football Whispers.
Thanks, Matthew. Old man. Yes, let's take a quick look at some other whispers from our top 10 making the headlines today. At the top, on 4.6, it is Wilfred Ndidi. It looks all but guaranteed that he'll complete a move to Leicester very shortly, especially after Claudio Ranieri pretty much confirmed it in his press conference yesterday. But a bit further down there in fourth, we have Thibaut Courtois, who's sitting on a 3.8. Now, we have seen Joe Hart linked with both Chelsea and Liverpool, and one reason for the West London interest could be Real Madrid's courting of Courtois. If the hierarchy at the Bernabeu decide to let go of Keylor Navas, then the Belgian would probably be their number one choice as replacement. Looking at numbers 5 through 10 then, and it looks like the others have talked about 4 out of the 5 there, because unsurprisingly, they've left me with the tricky pronunciation of Raja Nainggolan, who has been linked with Chelsea. A deal for the Roman midfielder has been bubbling around the 1.2 to 1.4 territory for a while, but in the last few days, it's picked up to an index of 3.4, perhaps triggered by Oscar's move to China. My deal of the day, however, is Liverpool's reported approach for 24-year-old winger Quincy Promes. He's seen by Jurgen Klopp as good cover for Saido Mane, while the Senegalese winger is at the African Cup of Nations. This is a transfer that appears to be moving quite quickly. Like the Lucas Leiva deal, for example, it was under the radar on Boxing Day at just 1.8, but when Georginio Wijnaldum left a comment on the winger's Instagram post on Wednesday, the rumour went into overdrive and the index now is 3.8. It is certainly one worth tracking. That's all from me for now. Don't forget you can stay up to date with all of these transfers at footballwhispers.com, on Twitter, Facebook and on our dedicated app. In the meantime though, it's back to the old man in the studio.
Less of the old. That's about it for now. Remember, we want to hear from you and hear your thoughts on the whispers around the world of football. Get in touch via Facebook or Twitter. In the meantime, we'll keep those whispers coming. You have a happy new year. We'll see you for our next show on Thursday the 5th of January. Bye for now.